Let's go to New Brunswick in New Jersey. Noura Erakat is standing by for us there. She's a human rights lawyer and an associate professor at Rutgers University. Noura, welcome. First up, I'd just like your reaction to this UN vote that's taken place, of course, seeking an immediate ceasefire as brought by the UAE, but it has not been approved because of the US veto. What do you make of it?
I think that it's a continuing atrocity and an indication of the way that the U.S. has undermined any kind of democratic governance by an international community. This veto of a ceasefire comes on day 63 of Israel's campaign, where now 17,000 people have been killed, over 7,000 children. Putting that into context, during the U.S.'s war and occupation of Afghanistan, 40,000 civilians were killed. So we're talking about nearly half that number in 2 months in what spanned 20 years in Afghanistan. The U.S.'s veto today represents its 45th vetoed, issued in the Security Council in order to protect Israel from any kind of accountability or to undermine an international resolution to the condition of Palestinian colonial domination. The U.S. is obviously a part of a problem and also needs to be met with the harshest measures by the international community in order to stop it from continuing to produce this harm, not only at the Security Council with this veto, but also by the provision of military support as well as intelligence to Israel as it continues its ongoing genocide.
So what is the solution to this? I mean, how can we anticipate any kind of change that might be effected, given that the mechanism, the very mechanism that was set up to deal with precisely this kind of crisis, is just failing to act?
You're absolutely right. I mean, all the other mechanisms that are set up in order to overcome Security Council intransigence, like Article 99, which the General Assembly President invoked, or the Uniting for Peace, which the General Assembly invoked, have failed to overcome the U.S.'s opposition and its role in the Security Council. We even saw that the ICC prosecutor at this point, and other mechanism that could have been used in order to deter Israel by the issuance of arrest warrants for Netanyahu, Aliyan, and Herzog, rather than move towards a movement of deterrence. We see the ICC prosecutor Karim Khan travel to Israel to meet the families of the October 7th attacks without meeting the families from Gaza, without saying anything about ongoing genocide, which frankly, in the aftermath of the Second World War, the Genocide Convention, as well as the mechanisms of the United Nations, are meant to prevent, to ensure that it never happens again. So we see the incapacitation of these international legal mechanisms. And at this point, we need more people to resign. We need more people to demonstrate the failure of these international legal institutions. We need them to protest and no longer participate in the very structures that are making it possible to continue an ongoing genocide.
And all the while, the plight of Palestinians in Gaza just gets worse and worse.
Yes, as we've seen right now, the most intense bombing, escalation of bombing from the north and the south. Israel gave orders to Palestinians to evacuate to the south, and now they're bombing the south in Khan Yunis. They're also bombing in Jadaliyya. We have seen men, civilians who have been stripped and humiliated in degrading treatment, also abrogation of international law. There have been orders for now 2 million Palestinians to take quarter in an area called Al-Masawi, which is 3.3 miles. It is tiny. It is smaller than the Heathrow airport. That does not make sense. These are not adequate measures. What we need is no less than an immediate ceasefire. I urge all those who are listening and watching not to wait for their leadership in order to take those actions, but to participate in demanding for a ceasefire of your representatives, of your institutions, to participate in the boycott, divestment, and sanctions, to do the work that our international institutions and leadership has failed to do.
Noura, we'll leave it there. Do appreciate your perspective. Thanks very much indeed for joining us here in Al Jazeera. Noura Erakat, thank you.
Thank you for having me.